Ponytown just added the ability to get watermelon slices from watermelons, and they actually added something that I have wanted for a very long time and made a video about like 5 months ago. And it is awesome. Welcome to version 0.118.6. This update, like I said, adds sliced watermelon slices, and unpotted plants. Unpotted plants finally at last. Some sprites also got a refresh and more object variants were added. So this is a wild update. It is going to be very good for builders, and it's going to be very good for role players who love watermelons. So obviously starting off, they added small and large sliced watermelon variants, added small and large watermelon slices, and they added placeable unlit and auto-lit iron lantern variants, which is very interesting because it's really weird to think that they haven't had unlit and auto-lit versions of these iron lanterns until now, but they literally didn't for some reason. They also added new placeable unpotted plant variants, such as the orchid, the succulent, the blooming plant, the tall plant, and the tiny, medium, and large plants. They also added snow variants for tiny and small rocks when in water and ice. They added winter variants for coal and crystal boxes. Again, really weird that they just didn't have winter variants yet, but they also added winter variants for medium and large boxes. They overhauled and improved sprites for the following, which are the short, medium, and long thin fence pieces. The Iron Lantern. The Iron Lantern, in my opinion, looks really weird. But anyway, the toolbox and empty toolbox, some of the tiny and small rocks. They also overhauled and improved sprites for the filled and empty box variants. And of course, the main thing here is that they added the ability to carve watermelons with knives and axes for some reason on the main maps. They also renamed some objects, so I'm gonna have to go through my big list of objects in the game and just basically redo it. They improved colliders of watermelons and thin fence pieces, improved handling of hidden players while in parties, fixed displaying tied chat text and chat log, fixed displayed chat bubbles being hover selectable, fixed friend note editing closing after being resized, fixed objects bobbing on water getting desynced after being moved with the crowbar in some cases, also fixed some objects just not bobbing on water, and they also optimize server performance, which they do basically in every update, and I'm not 100% sure if it actually even does anything or means anything. But those are the changes. Here are all of the things on the map right now. It is dark right now, so let me go ahead and say time day. But here are the unpotted plants. It's finally here. Let's do it. Let's go. We got to celebrate. For the longest time, we have only had a potted orchid and a potted succulent and a potted tiny plant thing and a medium plant thing and in like the large this thing and the flower one. That's not the flower one. We've only had like the blooming one and the tall plant. We've only had the potted versions for so long, and I've wanted the unpotted versions for so long because most people, or at least I personally, switch the color to green by just clicking on it a couple times to switch it to green, and then I hide the pot with like bushes and stuff like that. You don't have to hide the pots, guys. You don't have to hide the pot anymore. Isn't that amazing? It's the best thing of all time. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. This is the best part of the update in my personal opinion. I could care less about the watermelons or literally anything else in this update. This is the big thing for me. I'm going to be using these so much. I'm probably going to be using them on basically every build from now on. It is the best part of the update. Some of them do not have colliders, such as these two right here, but the rest of them do have colliders, except this one. I guess this one also doesn't have a collider, but the rest of these do have a collider, so do be wary of that. You could probably do some interesting stuff with these being like barriers to certain areas or something like that. I think it'll be awesome. But anyway, to the watermelons, you can now use an axe or a knife and interact with the watermelon slice and get a watermelon slice. I said watermelon slice twice there, but you can get a knife or an axe and click on a watermelon and get a watermelon slice. It is great. And they will also convert into these versions on the main map, which I will show here in a moment, or I guess I could just show it right now. Boom, that's right, because there's another server, and I can just click on these watermelons. What the fuck? Why isn't that? What the hell? Why can't I do it? What am I doing wrong? Was the test server not updated? It wasn't. What the hell? What the fuck? That is so bizarre. Okay, interesting thing here. The Patreon exclusive test server that you get for being a Patreon supporter is not up to date right now for some reason. Very bizarre. It is still on the 18.5 update, which is very bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen this before, ever. But I guess I will have to just go to the main map and show it there, which I was trying to use this server because Well, it's going to be super crowded there, but we'll go there later. Next, let's talk about the revamp of all the textures and stuff like that. I personally really like the new thin fence textures. I don't think they look quite as thin as they used to, which is a little bit of a bummer, but these are pretty great. If you had these previously in a build, they are going to be very different. Like, the build is probably going to have a very different vibe now because of this. I also am very happy with the new toolbox texture. I think it being that dark is really nice. Of course, you can make it lighter and stuff like that, but the default is dark, and you can change the darkness and stuff like that of the thin fences as well, which is really nice as well. Here are the new winter variants of these 4 boxes, which for some reason didn't have winter variants, I guess. Very bizarre. And then here are the lanterns. The new lantern texture is okay. I think I'm just too nostalgic about the old ones, if I'm being honest, but I guess these are fine too. It would be nice maybe if we could change the color of these possibly or something like that. But we have some that are always on, like this one right here. And then if I switch the time to night, you will see that one of these will come on. This one right here is now on because it only comes on at night. However, the third one here just never comes on, period. End of story. If you want an unlit lantern, you can now finally have those on your island. And it's really weird that that just hasn't been a thing until now. Moving on to some more opinion-based stuff, I think we should be able to do this right here, where we can take a knife and interact with a pumpkin, and it will convert into a jack-o'-lantern. At least maybe temporarily or something like that. Maybe after a few minutes or something like that, it just turns back into a regular pumpkin somehow. I don't know. Maybe you could also get like the pumpkin topper or something like that when you do carve it, or maybe some kind of pumpkin seed item or something to that effect. I don't know, but I think something like this would be really cool. I think this could also potentially be a really cool minigame if they ever wanted to add that as a minigame, where maybe it's like a 2-minute timer or a 3-minute timer or something like that, and you're basically carving pumpkins in the game, and at the end of the timer you get to look at everybody's build, and it's like, okay, who carved the best pumpkin or something like that, right? Or maybe it's literally just who can carve the pumpkin the fastest and most accurate or something like that. There's definitely a minigame in this if they wanted to do it. Obviously, I don't think we can necessarily do that on the island currently, but if the developers wanted to introduce it as an official one, I think it could be cool. But either way, I think we should be able to take knives and interact with the pumpkins. Maybe we could see that in a future fall update or something like that. That would be really nice. But other than that, that is basically it. That's everything I have to show for you guys. I do want to go to the island now and show that off, but it's probably going to be very difficult to do because there has been a ton of people here, and there has been a ton of people making watermelon lines. I don't know if they're doing any right now, but they could possibly be. Okay, yeah, there's no watermelon lines going on right now, and there is less people than usual, so maybe I can show this off. If I click on this, it does turn into a sliced version, and now I have a slice in my mouth. I do have one more thing that I wanted to say, and I did kind of forget to say this, and it's really annoying that they didn't do this, because I even asked them to do this. But they didn't add a rotatable variant of any of these new things. The watermelon slices, you cannot rotate these. This can be rotated. The small watermelon slice can be rotated. It has a random variant like this, where as I click on the ground and place them, it will randomly switch, or I can hit escape and it will randomly flip or something like that. Same thing with the watermelon slice. If you click on it enough times, it will eventually flip on its own. But I think these should be rotatable. At the very least, these small ones should be rotatable, because there should be a version that is like basically these two right here, but flipped in the opposite direction, if that makes sense. So that there is rotatable variant. There's like 4 directions it could be rotated. That makes sense to me. In my opinion, that should just be how it is. But for some reason, they wanted it to be a random variant. Whenever you place it, it's randomly flipped at a random time. They did the same thing with the small sliced watermelon and the large sliced watermelon, which these are fine, I guess, because some of them are bigger than others and stuff like that. But these are something that very, very, very clearly could benefit from having multiple rotated variants of it, and that is just a missed opportunity in my opinion. And honestly, I'm starting to get to the point to where I'm starting to wonder if Ponytown even wants rotatable versions of things in the game at all. It seems like every time this happens, where they have a new item that very, very, very clearly could benefit from being able to be rotated with the crowbar or something to that effect, they just don't do it. Instead, they make it a random variant. And this is honestly the most annoying thing. And I don't know. I was looking forward to making pizza with the watermelon slices, but I guess you're just going to have to be super, super, super careful about how you do it. Maybe you could kind of do this a little bit or something. And look, it's half a pizza, and I guess this could be 1 pizza slice or something. You look at that, guys. We have pizza in the game now. I mean, if you kind of squint your eyes, it's basically a pizza slice. But anyway, that is all I have for the update. I hope you guys enjoyed. I do want to say one more thing real quick too. I've noticed an increase in people pretending to be me in the game. So if you're ever curious if it actually is me in game, just click on me, and then in the top left where my player card appears, it will say Danny Ball Sub as on Discord. It will say like Discord, Danny Ball Sub as my username, or it'll be Twitter and it'll say Danny Ball Sub, or it'll be, you know, Steam, Danny Ball Sub. It'll be something Danny Ball Sub, and it will be spelled exactly like that. And also my character, I noticed a lot of people that have been faking me lately just are not making characters very accurate either. Don't go after these people necessarily or anything like that. I just wanted to point it out because I do have noticed an increase in that lately, and I don't know if they're trying to do things with my image, and I don't know if they have bad intentions or not. And I just wanted to put that out there because I've noticed an increase in that. I think I've noticed an increase in this in other people as well, like other YouTubers and TikTokers and stuff like that. It just seems like there's a rise in fakers out there lately. So just be wary of that. And remember, if you're ever curious, just click on the player and look at the top left card because it will have their social media there. And only the player who can sign into that social media can have that account. And if you see something that looks like it says Danny Bell Sub and you're still not sure, just click on the social media and you can message me on that social media if you want to, and I'll tell you if I'm real from there. Or you can just look at the posts and be able to use basic judgment to figure out if that's a real account or not. But either way, that's all I have for you. Please do consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and doing all those wonderful things like that, because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.